All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition, the sixth edition of the Vicktory Life Spotlight video blog. I have two of my good friends here today, Stacey and Vince. Um, I went to college with Stacey. I went to high school with Vince. Today, we're going to focus on something different. We're not going to talk about legacies as it relates to student athletes in sports and coaching. Today, I want to talk about something that impacts everybody, and that is the disease known as cancer. Um, Today, I want to focus on highlighting these two individuals, their resiliency, their strength, because we throw around the word hero in sports and someone's tough and mentally tough just because they hit a home run or they score 27. But when you look at the disease known as cancer, it affects so many people at all different ages. And before I put this show together, I have been following both these two legacies closely because Stacey has been forthcoming in her treatment and her situation, as well as Vince. And I think it's important for all of us to listen to their story because at some point or another, this disease affects everybody. But with that being said, I'm going to introduce you guys, allow you guys to talk. Stacey, I'll start with you. When you hear the word cancer, what does that make you think? What does that make you think about? What comes to mind?
I would say today it's a different definition for me than it was 2 years ago, of course, because that's when I was diagnosed. Right now, cancer is always a thing that's in the back of my mind. I am still technically in treatment, so it's like, does it come back? Is it going to affect me again down the road? It's also a word that is kind of, you think cancer may be death sentence. Like, am I going to recover from this? Am I going to get through this? How is it going to affect my family long term? So cancer depends on when you hear the word. I think if it affects you or not will depend on the definition that it is for you. 2 years ago, it was scary. It was, how can I do this? How can I get through this? And now it's more of, okay, that is what it is. And now we're on a path where we are in recovery and making it through. So that's kind of how it is for me then and now.
All right. Vince, what about you? When you hear the word cancer, what's the first thing or what comes to mind?
So usually, just the word cancer at this point really doesn't do much to me, but usually when I hear it, it's in, combination with this person has this cancer. And then I start thinking about compassion, right? So when something bad happens to somebody, as a human being, you don't want anything bad to happen to somebody. So, oh man, I feel sorry for them, right? But if you haven't gone through it, you don't have the same kind of compassion that somebody that has gone through it has. So when I hear it, but I'm like, oh man, I really feel for the person because, I went through it and I know what they're going through or what they could go through. So it's more for me, it's more like I have compassion for the person and hope that they'll get through it. So it's like compassion and hope for me.
Okay, that's powerful. So, Stacey, as I mentioned before we started recording in the show, we talked and we've been talking. I check in with you a few times, just let you know how you inspire me. But I didn't know when it exactly happened. So let everybody know, when did you get diagnosed? What was going on in your life? Like, I don't want to go back, but we need to just for relevance because I know that was a crazy time. But like, what happened? Like when you got the phone call, the text message, an email. Did you
Yeah.
feel? Feel?
So I just came off of, first I'll go back to how I actually found it. So just came off of a conference with Boulay for my sorority, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And I was on a high because we had a great time, and I came home and I had, at that time, my daughter was 10 months. And so I was still breastfeeding at the time. And I had always given myself my checks in the shower for my breasts to make sure that, everything was normal. But this time I felt a little bump. And I was like, I don't know if that's just from breastfeeding, from, maybe a clogged duct or something's not right. So I waited out 2 weeks. I didn't tell my husband. I didn't say anything. I just kind of felt every day to kind of see what it was. it didn't go away. So I called my GYN and was like, I have this lump and I'm not quite sure what it is. Went to him, he gave me the rundown. Oh, you're too young, you're breastfeeding, you don't have any history. It's nothing. We're just gonna, keep an eye on it for a month and see if anything changes. Nothing changed. Went back, had my biopsy, mammogram done, and came back on October 4th that I had cancer. I had went in for my physician review because they make you come in for your results. And well, my doctor did anyway, and she was like, I'm sorry, but it came back cancerous. And I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, triple positive. Triple positive cancer means that it is very aggressive. And I went from the month from when I had my first biopsy to the second scan that I did right before treatment, it had doubled in size just in a month from the tumor. So that's kind of how I was diagnosed. If I hadn't done my breast exams, I wouldn't have gone for a mammogram for another 2 years. So it could have sat there and grown, and I would have never known because I didn't know didn't see any other changes in my breast besides me feeling it. And that's something I had always done because, the doctor always tells you, make sure you still check yourself. And I did. And because I knew what it felt like when it wasn't there, I knew when it got there that something wasn't right. So.
Yeah. Did you, before I get to you, Vince, did you feel, I saw Serena Williams' documentary about how she had to fight with the doctors to tell them something was wrong. I heard you mention, I take notes when people are talking. Mm-hmm. Did you feel like they dismissed it because, and I'm not trying to make it a racial thing, but because you were a woman or because of what you were young, you were breastfeeding, because I hear a lot of women talk about how they have to fight, especially women of color, to get the right diagnosis and treatment.
I think he did kind of dismiss. I think he did dismiss me. He was just kind of like I said, I'm young, no history, I'm breastfeeding, all the checklist of things that say you're not supposed to have it. And I think he was just like, oh, this is just, I'm a mother breastfeeding at that time, so she's just bringing up extra stuff. And so I was diligent, and I called him literally the month from the time that I went in to a month later, and I was like, it's not gone. And when I went back in, he was like, well, yeah, you're right, it's not gone. So he was then diligent after that. And I had been going to this GYN for years. I mean, that was when I birthed my daughter through, but I actually used a midwife at that time. I didn't want to use the GYN because I knew how they weren't as one-on-one as a midwife would be. So yeah, I think at the beginning he kind of dismissed me a little bit. But I'm not going to be quiet about my health. I'm a healthy person. So if I feel something's not right, it's because I know something's not
right. Yeah. And Vince, same question. I mean, where were you at? How did you know what was going on and what happened after that subsequently?
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy that, and listening to her story, like mine is like very similar. I mean, as far as the response from the doctors, but so I had testicular cancer, right? So how I found out how I found it was I was in the gym. I was like on, the elliptical machine, right? And then I had some pain. I was like, what in the world what's that? So I was like, oh man. So I went to the doctor right away. I wasn't playing. Like I knew I was in pretty good shape back then. I knew my body, like everything about myself, right? So I had some pain. I'm like, oh, something's not right. So, I went to the doctor, and, a lot of times with diseases, there's a profile of, the people that fit certain diseases, right? So for testicular cancer, the profile is white, 25-year-old. So they're like, it's not that. We went round and around with tests, and they were like, that's probably some kind of inflammation. Here, take this drug, take that drug. Wasn't getting better. I'm like, I know it's something there. The doctors weren't impressed. So I went to a specialist, a urologist, and even he was like, I don't fit the profile. You don't fit the profile, and I'm not sure if we don't fit the profile because, I'm going to make it a racial thing for like Black men. We don't go to the doctor, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's just not enough data that says that we are included in that group of people who, and this will come up later about the whole profile thing. They when they treat a disease, they say based on your age and your race or whatever will give you these kind of drugs and they'll have this kind of effect on you, right? But, you know, we don't go to the doctor, we don't have good health insurance. So I don't know what percentage of those people that we make up, you know, so there's really no data on how Black people deal with these kind of diseases, right? So, you know, we went back and forth, and for my cancer, there's something that's called a tumor marker, like that you can check to see if there's a presence of a tumor, like by doing a blood check, right? So they're like, you know, we don't think it's cancer, but we'll go ahead and call for the tumor markers. It came back, and it's like, oh wow, it does look like you have a tumor. So, you know, just because you have a tumor doesn't mean it's cancer. It could be anything, right? So I go and get like an ultrasound little thing they do and see, and then they're like, oh man, that looks like cancer. And it's like, yeah, we're pretty sure that you do have cancer. And, you know, the crazy thing about it was, at that time I was going to specialists, you know, best in the country kind of type people, right? I was in Baltimore with my daughter for something else. They called me on the phone and was like, yeah, we looked at your test, you have cancer. What time can you get here so we can remove it? And I was like, wait, what, like now? And I was just like, but I gotta, you know, I've never had an operation before or anything. So I'm like, wait, hold on, I have to do this. And like, we can't wait on this. We gotta move. We can't wait on this. So I was like, oh my God. So I think 2 days later, I had an operation. I mean, it was like instant. So I didn't even have time to really process it. Like, oh my God, I got cancer, this and this. It was, you got it, come get it taken care of. And I was just like, so it was just like a whirlwind in like, I don't know, 48 hours maybe that, you know, and it was like, they removed the tumor. And I was just like, what's going on? You know, kind of sort of in the days, and you're all drugged up from surgery and all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of like, so a lot of times people, they go through their, you know, stages of acceptance or grief or whatever you want to call it. Mine are a little bit different because I didn't have a chance to even be like in disbelief. Because, oh no, we're doing this. We're getting rid of it right now. So I'm like, you know, so I had to go with it.
When you guys both heard the diagnosis, I know you talked about what happened subsequently after, you know, events to surgery and everything like that. When you hear that diagnosis, Stacey, I'll start with you. Was it not so much like, did you think you want to die, but was it like, am I going to get through this? Were you afraid? Were you concerned? Did you feel like, why me? I mean, what, you know, because I know from just hearing other stories, you know, but these are celebrities and you watch the documentary, I'm connected to you too. So, I mean, it hit home for me when I found out, but I mean, I'm still not in your shoes. So Stacey, what happened like immediately when you found out, excuse me?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes to all of what you just said. So yes, it was a why me. I was, when I got diagnosed, I had went to that appointment by myself, which I shouldn't have, but I did. And I couldn't call my husband because there was no reception in the room. So I was struggling and frantic trying to call him. And so I was, you know, upset, and I cried like I've never cried before, and ran to the car and cried in the car some more. Before I could get home. And it was, I was more scared of chemo than any other part of treatment. Because when you watch TV, you see the people who go through chemo and how thin they are, how sickly they are. And you see that, and it's like, is that going to be me? I am this strong person. I don't get sick. I'm not down. Like, how can I don't want to go through that. So it was kind of one of those moments. I was more afraid of chemo than anything else. I'm still afraid of chemo, to be honest. It was hard, but that was probably my first thoughts when I was first got the news of everything, of going through chemo and just having to do that. I was mad. I was angry. I was tired. I was all the emotions, I think, in that first day from when I was diagnosed to when I started treatment. So, yeah.
Yeah. I asked that because I you know, I didn't know you went alone, but I mean, I couldn't imagine just hearing it, you know, because again, it's not so much that everybody lives like it won't happen to them, but when it happens to you, it can be earth shattering, and devastating. Vince, same question. I know you didn't have time to process everything, but like, even when you had driving to get surgery, what was going through your mind? Like, what were you thinking about? Like, I grew up with you, so I know you're never going to be out there broadcasting your business. You're a very private person, you know, unless we're close to you. But even for people close to you, what was going on as far as your thoughts? Did you?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little different. You know, I had it a little different. I processed it a little different. So, you know, sometimes, you know, we have these sayings like, you know, if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all, right? Like sometimes you just have like bad luck, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I always thought that it was probably cancer. I just thought that, you know. So when it happened, I was just kind of like, well, you know, 1 in 4 people get cancer. So you just think of 4 random people, you know, like, hey, one of us is going to get it. And it just happened to be me, you know, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, it landed on me. You know, and I was never the, you know, why me? Because, you know, say we pick 4 random people, me, you, Tynes, and E or somebody like that. Why me? Why not Vic? You know, that's messed up. You know, you don't want to put it on somebody else. So why not me? There's nothing special, you know, that I shouldn't get it. You know, I mean, everybody's like, well, you were healthy, you lived your life right. Hey, man, it's just what happens sometimes. So that's kind of how, you know, I process it. I never cried about it. I never was down. You know, it was more like, man, this sucks. It was kind of more like, that's kind of really how I process. Like, yeah, it sucks. It's just another thing I potentially have to get through.
So let's talk about it. So you got through, you had the surgery. Vince, I'll start with you. Treatment. Because the one thing that resonated with me when we talked about this a few months ago, it didn't scare me, but it was something, I mean, you were talking so passionately and how it really affected you and how initially you weren't going to go through with the chemo, right?
We
how
can,
was treatment?
right. So, you know, so let me, okay, let's tell the story. Okay, so I get it removed. I get the tumor removed, and they're like, oh, surgery is successful. We think we got all of it, you know. So I'm going into the office for, you know, to meet my oncologist, and I think I'm just there for checkups, you know. And they explained to me, you know, there's 2 kinds of testicular cancer. There's one that's like she said, like it's aggressive. One that's like slow growing, I should say. So the slow growing one, they just remove it and you're good, you're right. Well, unfortunately, here comes the bad luck again. I had the bad one, the aggressive one, right? So they were like, all right, we removed it. So now you got to do chemo. I'm like, chemo? What am I do chemo for? Are you removed? I don't have cancer. We checked my numbers after the surgery. I don't have cancer anymore. What are you talking about? They're like, no, there's you know, you have a 30% chance of survival. That means 70% chance that you're good, 30% chance that the cancer is going to come back, right? I'm like, okay, all right. Still, okay, it sounds okay to me, right? So then we start going through, okay, for your kind of cancer, this is the treatment. And this is a treatment called BEP. It stands for the 3 drugs that they were going to give me, bleomycin, etoposide, and cisplatin, right? And the regimen was, I had to take each one of these drugs 5 days a week for 7 hours, right? So I go in there in the morning all day long, taking these drugs, right? So I'm just like, wait a minute, you know, because I don't know anything about chemo. You know, you hear the word, but I don't know what it is. I actually don't know what it is. So they basically are injecting you with these drugs to kill, you know, the cancer. You know, chemo kills cancer, which is like a fast growing cells, but it also kills the other fast growing cells in your body, like your hair, your nails, and your stomach lining, and inside of your mouth, and other things, right? So they put out this list of side effects. So I know everybody's seen the commercials where, you know, you see the, you know, here's the drugs. Oh, and side effects might say, man, there was like 3 pages. There was like 3 pages of like 30 side effects. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, hold on. What's going to happen to me now? And I mean, some of them were bad. Like, hey, if we give you this drug, you know, it might destroy your lungs. You won't be able to breathe. If we give, you know, this drug, you know, it might leave you with a permanent ring in your ears, or you might go deaf. Then there's another drug that was, I mean, all of them, all the top ones were like debilitating side effects, like for the rest of your life, debilitating side effects, right? So I was like, what? And then there was like 100 others in addition to that, right? And I was like, who in their right mind would do something like this? Like, what's wrong with you people? And I was like, wait, okay, tell me this. Am I going to die? Am I going to die tomorrow? Am I going to die, right? And they were like, I can't say. I'm like, look, I was like, come on, man. He's like, all right, there's a 30% chance you're going to die, right? I'm like, but there's a 70% chance that I'm not going to die. So you telling me right now I'm feeling good. I voluntarily go through this process for the rest of my life. Could potentially be crippled, or one of the things, like, if I go through this process, I won't ever be the same. You know, I'll never get back to where I am, like, as I'm sitting in the office talking to him, feeling good. I'll never feel like that again. I'm 39. I'm like, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be jacked up. I'm like, 70-30, huh? I'm rolling the dice. Like, but you got to do it. I said, I don't got to do nothing. I'm out. So I bounced. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that. You must be crazy. You know, and it's like, I'm thinking to myself, man, 30-70, that sounds pretty good. And if I lose, I had a good run. I mean, that was my attitude. I was like, there's no way I'm going to sign up to be crippled for the rest of my life at 39. So I was like, man, I'm not doing this. Is crazy. So I went home and I was playing with my son. And my son was 6 at the time, right? And I thought to myself, you know, if I pass away right now, he's not even going to remember me. You know, it's like he's at that age, you know, when you have young kids, you know, from that age, you know, I would just be a distant memory, a person in pictures and home videos, but he wouldn't even remember me. He wouldn't, you know what it's like to have a father. And I was just like, and I thought about it that week. And then I went back and I was like, all right, man, I'm going to do it. You know, just for that reason. I wanted to live long enough so my son would remember. You know, that was my main goal of doing it. You know, just like, okay, let me try just for him. And then they say, all right, good. We do a test to see, we had to do, I can't remember what we had to do a test for before. Like, they do tests to see, you know, how healthy you are. And we had to do all these kind of baselines, because these drugs they're going to give you could potentially screw you up. So they want to see where you are now and where you are after we give you these drugs to make sure that's safe to give them to you. I got my first blood test. They call me back the next day. Like, oh my God, your numbers are off the chart. The cancer came back, like in a week. Cancer came back.
My God.
Cancer came back, spread to my lymph nodes. Not like before, like, so when I got the operation, I'm stage 1. Now in a week after, you know, talking to these people, I'm stage 2. And I'm just there like, now I am going to die. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now I am going to die and I have to do this. So they're like, okay, you're stage 2, but we think we can save you if you can survive the process. Like, if you were like a 60-year-old man, we couldn't do this. We couldn't give you this treatment. We would have to figure out a different way to do it. And I'm just like, man, this is like, this is not good. And to give you some background on the cancer, it's the same one that the tumor was the same one that Lance Armstrong had, right? So what was kind of cool about it was my doctor, he's the best in the area, but the team that Lance Armstrong had is like the best in the country, maybe in the world. And he linked up with them. So they helped out with my treatment. So my doctor worked with Lance Armstrong and then doctor to come up with, the treatments for me, to fight this, because around the time I think that Lance Armstrong had it, it was 90% fatal. Mm-hmm. After they figured out the cocktail of drugs to give, it was almost like 90% survivable if we can get through the treatments. Mm-hmm. So, that was kind of how the start of, the whole chemo thing is. But yeah, initially I said no. I said, hell no. I was like, you must be crazy. I mean, I don't remember I can't tell you the list of, it's just like those commercials, right? But if you multiplied it by 50 and made the side effects worse, yeah. I'm like, who would sign up for, who would, in my mind, I'm cancer free and this is maintenance chemo. This is chemo just in case, right? Right. Like, who in the hell would do that? Why would I willingly do something like this? This is nuts. Because I remember it was like me and my wife were there, and when they were reading all these things to us, we looked at each other And she was like, I couldn't do it. I'm like, oh, shit. You don't have
Yeah,
to do
she
it.
said that. She said that.
I'm telling you, if you would have heard it, you would have been like that too, man. It's just like, it's like, the only way I was going to do it is like, if you tell me I'm going to die tomorrow. It's literally that. If you tell me I'm not going to die tomorrow, I'm not doing it. There's no way. And so like I said, I was going to roll the dice. I was like, because there was a couple of things. It's like the side effects, and then the thought of living the rest of my life, impaired, willingly, and I willingly, signed up for that. So I was just like, man, I don't know. I don't know. I can't do it, and then I went, with my son and all that kind of thing. And then I was like, well, I guess we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And then I found out I didn't have a choice. Then I had to do, because I was dying.
Yeah.
I didn't have a choice.
Yeah. And Stacey, same question for you. When did treatment begin? And I know you mentioned early on it's still ongoing, but when did treatment begin for you? And I mean, describe it. I mean, I've heard Vince, but I mean, I want you to be honest and how it felt for you.
Sure. So I was diagnosed, like I said, on October 4th. I started treatment October 31st. They inserted a port underneath my skin to administer the chemo because my veins wouldn't have been able to withstand all of the chemo and the drugs that they were going to give me. So they had to put a port in my chest that they had to access in order to administer the treatment. So I had 6 rounds of treatment starting from October 31st until February. And my cocktail was called TCHP, Taxotere, carboplatin, Herceptin, and Perjeta. Herceptin is the drug that is used for those who are triple positive in their breast cancer. It was actually only created just in 1989. So if I had triple positive cancer, or anyone who had triple positive cancer before 1989 didn't have a good chance of survival at all. The Herceptin drug actually helps with the triple positive. And when I say triple positive, that means progesterone positive, estrogen positive, and this hormone called HER2. And the Herceptin fights off the HER2. And that is what makes it so aggressive. Because I'm a woman, so estrogen is always going to be high in me anyway. So that kind of Herceptin, the drug, plays a part in fighting that off. There's a movie called Living Proof of the person who actually created that drug and how it came to be. It's like a Lifetime movie, but like I said, it's only created like in 1989 for women who had triple positive cancer. So I had 6 rounds of that. And just like Vincent said, it was a long list of side effects. I still suffer from side effects from chemo now. My memory is horrible. That chemo fog that comes along with some of the chemo treatments is real. I have to write everything down. If I don't write it down, it's not happening. So that was kind of one of the major things that I fight with now from the residual of having chemo. But those side effects are real and long. So I totally understand when you say after I had chemo, I then had a double mastectomy with reconstruction. So I have both of my breasts taken off, even the healthy one, because I didn't want to have any chance of it coming back. And then with the reconstruction, they cut me from hip to hip, take out the fat and tissue that's in there to reconstruct the new breast. A lot of people say, oh, you got a breast lift and tummy tuck. And no, that's not what it is. It was an 11-hour surgery.
11 hours?
11 hours. I lived in, the old school lift chairs with the button to get you in and out. I lived in one of those for like 4 weeks after surgery because I had no strength to even pull myself up out of a chair because they cut all the muscle across my midsection. So I had that in March. And then March 28th, I was considered no evidence of disease. My doctor doesn't say cancer-free. They just say no evidence of disease. So I was considered that then, but I still had to continue to get Herceptin every 3 weeks by infusion until the end of October of 2019. once I finish that part, I then have to now get a monthly shot to suppress my hormones. And that needle is literally this long. And it goes into my midsection. And I get one of those once a month. And I was supposed to get a hysterectomy so I wouldn't have to get the shots, because I have to get the shots for 4 years every month if I don't get a hysterectomy. I was supposed to get one last month, but because of COVID, that got canceled. But I'm eventually going to get that done so I don't have to get the shots. And then I take a monthly pill that also suppresses my hormones as well. And that I have to take for 10 years. And there's no way around it. There's no way I can change that. And with that pill comes, I literally take one pill that's like very small, and I have a handful of vitamins and supplements that I take to counteract the side effects from that one pill. My joints are the worst. Sometimes when I'm going down the steps, I walk down the steps 2 feet at a time because my joints hurt that bad. I can't move in the morning sometimes. If I sit in the car for too long, when I initially get out, my body is aching. I'm still struggling through hot flashes because now I'm in menopause because of the hormone suppression. So I'm, dealing with the hot flashes and all of those things that come along with menopause. The side effects is still there for me. A lot of people are like, oh, you're done with treatment and you're good. No, I'm not good. No. I'm still fighting daily to get through these maintenance meds that I have to take in order to continue to survive. Because if I don't take them, then my chances increase from where they are at 3% right now, they increase to 25% of it coming back. So I have to take these meds just to keep, the chances for it to not come back.
And when you started treatment, you're going through all that medications and chemo, you still had to be a mother and a wife, and you still had your professional career. And yes. Before all of that, I've known you, I went to school with you for a few years in college. You also have been very active and always will be socially.
Yes.
So how did that affect that part of your life, your personal and professional life? Because when you watch a movie, they just kind of fast forward through things. They come out, and they're like, yeah. But everything took a back seat or had to be adjusted. What was that adjustment like for you?
That adjustment was huge for me. As you said, I'm a social person, and I literally had to shut everything down. Not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't. Chemo, it takes you. I always say to my husband when I was going through, when the days were really bad, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, because it really took me down. And I am not a person to be down. After each treatment, I got a patch on my arm to up my blood cells, my white count blood cells, after each treatment for my immune system. And that, once it stays on your arm, and it kicks in like 2 days later. And once that kicks in, my body was in so much pain. I was in a fetal position on the couch for 2 hours and couldn't move. Like, it shuts down everything. I still had to be a mom, and my son would be like, Mommy, can we do such and such? And I would be like, Mommy can't even move right now, baby. I'm sorry. And I would love to, but I can't. My daughter, she was 1 at the time, so she didn't care. She just jumped on top of me and just kept her party life going. So she didn't really bother her too much. But my son, he knew. He's very empathetic. So he was just kind of like, Mommy's really struggling. She's really sick, and he could see it. And so that was hard for me to know that he could notice that about me for that part. And then my social life, I couldn't, at that time I was wearing masks when I was going out in the street. People was looking at me like I was crazy then. But I was wearing my mask and, had no hair on my head. And so it was just kind of like, I couldn't go out and couldn't do sociable things because of my immune system. And I had to make sure that I stayed, away from a lot of people and try in order to stay healthy. And also with those side effects, one of the issues with the chemo caused water or fluid on my heart. And then I didn't have, the energy. I couldn't move. I go walk from upstairs to downstairs and would be out of breath. Because of the fluid on my heart. I still struggle from that, and I have to go at the beginning of January to get that reevaluated, because then that may lead to another surgery because it's still there. It's a lot of things that got shut down for me through chemo, and of course, through reconstruction, because I definitely wasn't moving it in. I couldn't even get out of a chair. So yeah, it was definitely a big difference. If it wasn't for my parents and my in-laws, there was no way I was getting through motherhood or wifehood during that time. They were here. They rotated weeks. During my chemo and during my surgery, to come in to help with the kids, to help my husband, to cook and clean and do all of those things while I was going through treatment. So yeah.
So yeah, and I know it was tough because I know you, and I know how you love your family and how you love your friends, your sorors, your crew from Tech, and you're loved by so many. And I remember that, like I said, I text you out at my party coming up, and then you kind of disappeared.
Right.
Vince, same question for you, boss. You were going through treatment, and you have a family, and you have friends. What happened for you? I mean, how did you balance that? Did that get shut down too? How'd your kids? Were they concerned?
Yeah, so when you don't really know what's going to happen, right? So before we started treatment, we sat down the kids. So the basics, right? Daddy's going to start looking different. His hair is going to fall out. He might start losing weight. I'm going to be sick. But, they were young and didn't really understand, what cancer was. So we didn't say like, I got cancer and I could die and all. Nothing like that. You just said that, it's like, sat my kids down, and then my niece and nephew, Jared, and them said, we're like, all right, this is what's going to happen, so don't be, spooked. This is, he's going through something, right? So when chemo started, right, I would say the first week I was in there, first day, went through it, the whole day. My first week, my sister took me. She took me, her job let her work from the hospital. So she sat with me the whole time, right? So she took me, and first day I was like, oh man, this is nothing. I ignorant, don't know anything, right? I get through the first day, nothing. I come home, cut the grass, I'm chilling. I'm like, man.
Hold on, Vince. You said this is nothing? That was your first response?
Because you're scared. You think you don't know what it is. You think you think it's gonna be torture. I mean, you don't know, right? So you don't feel that first day. I didn't feel anything. It was just like getting an IV with fluid, right? I didn't feel anything, right? Then by about the third day, I was like, man, my stomach is getting a little hot or something like that, right? So, but I didn't know what that was. But that was the last day I felt normal. That was like 6 years ago. I've never felt normal since that day. I will always remember the last day that I felt normal. What was happening were the drugs were starting to burn away my digestive system. So down my throat and my stomach. So I was getting chemical burns in the lining of my stomach, upper and lower. So, but I didn't know what was going on. I just like, man, it's, feeling hot. And they start giving you antacid. They give you all these kind of drugs to try to help you, go through, be comfortable when you're going through this, right? So I was just like, man, stomach's kind of hurt. And then as you start to get into it, then that's when you're like, uh-oh, something's not right. Then, so when your stomach is getting destroyed, then it's upset. Now you start getting nauseous. Now anything that hits it, you're throwing up. Yeah. And, throwing up like crazy, right? So, so trying to figure out how to manage what kind of food can I eat that's going to not make me throw up, So I remember I was in the bathroom, maybe it might have been a weekend, maybe two. It's in the bathroom, like, man, I was like, man, I got to figure out what I'm going to eat, man. And I did like this, like, man, what am I going to do? And when I did like this, I looked at my hand and my hair was in my hand. I was like, oh, I just wiped the middle of my hair off. Like, I was just like, I was like, well, I guess that's what happens when you come to chemo. But it was just like, man, I'm looking in the mirror like, oh my God. So like my hair is coming out. And I'm just like, well, it's very easy for guys, and we just cut it off. So I was like, I never rocked a baldy before, but I was like, all right, guess we getting rid of that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm starting to get sicker, and then like as time goes on, I remember I was talking to somebody and like, oh, my head was itching, right? And I did like this to scratch it, and my nail broke off. The whole thing broke off. I'm like, oh, what is the whole thing? I mean, like, you're not supposed to see this part of your finger. My whole nail was gone. I was like, oh, I'm like,
Yes.
what in the world?
Mm.
And and it's hard to go through life without scratching yourself when you got an itch. You don't even think about it. So every time I got a little itch, a nail popped off till all of my nails were gone. So then I had band-aids wrapped around my fingertips because I had no fingernails, and it's just like, and it's kind of drives you crazy to feel something touch underneath where your nail used to be. It's like, it's not a comfortable feeling, right? So I was like, so I wrapped my fingers. I had my fingers wrapped. And I remember one day I was getting dressed, and so I was putting some socks on, right? Put my socks on, my toenails snapped against the socks, and all my toenails broke off on my right foot.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, oh my God, oh my, and when that happened, my son walked in. He's like, hey, Daddy. I was like, hey, Trey, how you doing? How was school? And I talked to him or whatever. Then he left the room. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I was like, oh God, I didn't want to take my sock off. I didn't even want to see what the damage was. So, oh my God. So I pulled off my sock. I had no toenails. They're all gone. I was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So, and that feeling was driving me crazy, worse than my fingers, or like my big toe being touched, being exposed like that was driving me crazy. So I wrap band-aids and stuff around my toes on my right foot. So I'm just like, yo, man, this is crazy, man. And I wasn't even really that sick at the time. Just like, I'm slowly starting to fall apart.
Yeah.
My body is decaying, right?
Yep.
And so I'm super sick. I'm going through around the chemo, and they give you this drug. I can't remember what it's called. It's the short name is Dex. It's a long 12-letter word, Dex something, right? And it kind of combats the nausea and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, I had a allergic reaction to that. That's one of those, like, when you have all these side effects of possible drugs, that's not on the list. That's like, that might be the last one, the most rare one.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting all the rare side effects, back to the profile of young white man, 25 years old. This is how these drugs affect. I wasn't getting the major stuff. I was getting the weird off the wall stuff that they didn't even know how to deal with, right? So I took this Dex, and I kind of told y'all about this. I told you and Shanice about this. I had an allergic reaction, and it did something to my diaphragm. So I take a massive dose of this drug. It's going to be in my system for, 24 hours, right? And what it made me do was, like, I got the hiccups, right? So I would hiccup, and then my diaphragm would seize, and then I would be like, so then I couldn't breathe. So it was like every second, it was like I would hiccup and like enough to stay conscious, I mean, I wasn't passing out, but I was barely conscious. It was just like that for like 2 days, right? I was gasping for air, and when I was telling you this story before, it's like, I told you, like, I'm not really like a religious person. You're not gonna find me up in church and all that kind of stuff. But when that was happening to me, I was praying to God to make it stop. I was like pacing the hallways upstairs in my house all night long for, while everybody slept. I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I was just trying to catch my breath. I was just getting enough air to not pass out. But, it was like being suffocated, but you won't die. I was just getting enough air where I just wouldn't die. And I was just like, just like, oh my God. I was like, God, please make it stop. Please make it go away. I was begging for hours. Nothing. Kept going. So then I started thinking to myself, okay, why is this happening to me? Okay, I know it's the drug, because we kind of discussed that. I know it's the drug. It's in my system. I got to wait for it to burn out. So I just got to grit and bear it, right? So I'm just walking. I'm going by. I haven't had any sleep, and like, weird things start happening to you when you haven't had sleep for a while. You start hallucinating, all kind of weird stuff, right? And then I just remember I was pacing, begging, pacing, and then I caught a full breath. And I was like, oh my God. Then I got another one. Then I remember I slid down to the floor. Then I got like 2 more. Then I was like, oh my God, I can breathe. Oh my God, I can breathe. This has been days. And I was like, oh my God, I can breathe. And then I was like in the middle of the hallway. I was sitting on the floor. I got like a 3rd or 4th breath. And then I just laid down and went to sleep because I hadn't had any sleep or anything like that. I just slept there right there in the hallway on the floor. Right. Because, I was just like, oh my God, that was like torture. And it was like, and that's like, doesn't even seem that bad, but I'm telling you that like, there's tons of things that happened to me, but that was one of the worst, man. That was torture. And then, so we try to figure out, okay, maybe not give that drug. So, but I have to have it
Right.
because you gotta, it's a drug to help you get through the chemo. So it's one of those mandatory drugs that I had to have or I'm gonna throw up to death. So I'm just like, what are we gonna do? So we're like, let's cut it in half. And so we got half dose and still had the same thing. It wasn't as severe, didn't last as long, but the same thing, gas for air for another day, and I just had to grit and bear it. Just had to take it, but I was like, I'm strong enough, I can do it. Another interesting thing about the treatment is, so I'm in there all day long. Like most people, a lot of people, they're not there 5 days a week. You might go one day for 2 hours out of the whole week. I'm there every day, right? So I got my own little room. So my wife she ran the post anesthesia care unit for many, many years. So we're like damn near like VIP in that hospital, right? So I'm getting treated pretty good, right? So when you're sitting in the chair, you're getting all these drugs pushed into you. You have they're on the IV hang. It's like on a pole in a machine. Mm-hmm. And so you're getting so much liquid pushed into you. You gotta pee. You gotta pee like every hour or whatever. So I get up, so I walk down the hall to the bathroom, and you're passing all the other cancer patients in the same predicament, So I'm walking by, passing the guy, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Day after day, hour after hour. And what was crazy was like, I noticed, and this, you keep things to yourself because you don't want to freak people out. But I noticed that as my whole time, I went through 3 rounds, right, of this, as my whole time of doing this, I noticed that people weren't making it. Mm-hmm. I would pass people and that person didn't make it. This person didn't make it. People dropping like flies, and there was when we was a kid, there was this old movie, Conan, right? Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was like, in the beginning of that movie, he was a little kid, and he was like a slave, and they had him pushing this wheel thing for, I don't know, some farming thing or whatever. Him and a bunch of kids, they were slaves, they're being whipped, and they're pushing it, and they're showing you year after year, all the other kids died off until he was like the last one pushing this wheel. Now he's grown, man, he's big. So kind of just trying to describe why is he so big like that. So, and it was like that for me. I was going through that hallway day after day, this person dying, that person dying. And I was like, I'm going to be the last one left. I'm going to be the last one left. It's like, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be that last guy left. And so, I mean, I would go into the office and doctors are jaded, right? They deal with, I don't see how you could be a nurse that deals with cancer patients or a doctor when you deal with so many people dying. It's like, don't affect them or something. I don't know. But I would go into the office and I would see a family. And my doctor, I would see him walking around the back, and I would always try to catch his eye to make eye contact to see if he's looking at me like, oh man, he's a goner, or oh, he's doing pretty good. I was trying to kind of get his temperature to see like, am I about to get bad news or good news? Right? So I would be trying to see him. I remember this one more than once, like a family before me, they went in to see the doctor, and they're crying. He's like, yeah, no, it's not. It's almost over now. He's telling them now, about what their loved one is going to go through when he dies and all this and that. And they're crying, all this and that. I'm telling you, in the same sentence, he looked over at me. He's, hey, Mr. Roland, hey, come on back. You're next. I'm like,
I'm good.
I'm like, what? It's like, I'm not going to go, I'm talking to the Grim Reaper or something. Like, he had no change in emotion. Like, what is that? I'm like, this, so I can read him at all. So I'm like, I don't know if he's about to tell me I'm next or what. So I'm just like, man, all right, I guess I can't read this dude. So, it was good. But it was killing me. It was these drugs, they were piling on week after week, and it was killing me. And it was a race. It was basically a race can the chemo kill the cancer before the chemo kills me? That's kind of how we work. He's aggressive. That's kind of how we were working it. And I remember my doctor went on vacation for a day or two, one of the times I needed to come. And before the day you would come in, before they would give you the chemo, they would run your blood, check it to see if you were healthy enough to receive chemo. So I come in there, and another doctor who's not the specialist at my kind of cancer, there's like a center, so they all can back each other up. But my guy was like the specialist, right? He wasn't there. So the backup guy was like, they took my number. She's looking at me like, I can't give you chemo. This is going to kill you. He's like, you got to go home and try to, recover a little bit. So I'm like, you got to tell me twice. I'm out of here. So, I went home and then my doctor, my real doctor called me. He's like, what are you doing, man? Get your ass back to the hospital. It's like, we can't stop. And, he was like, hey, man, Dr. So-and-so says, this next dose is going to kill me. And he's like, man, we got everything in there we need to keep you alive. So where I was doing my chemo right next to me was like a station where they did blood transfusions, right? I didn't have any platelets. My blood was stripped. I didn't have anything in it, right? And they were like, yeah, you get to the point where you need blood, we're going to give it to you. We're just going to do the blood transfusion and keep it moving, right? So, you're talking about, I'm walking the line between about to die, kind of stuff, right? And it's like, all that stuff is like torturous, right? But if you would ask me like how I feel about it, let me back up. There's one thing I didn't say before I started going through, a lot of this, right? So you asked like about how you feel about it, like, the why me's. I never went through the why me's, but something weird happened to me where like my brain started protecting me. Like I wasn't scared. I got to the point, I wasn't scared of anything. I wasn't scared to die. I wasn't scared to, like, say you have phobia. Say you're like scared of snakes or something like that. Say if I wasn't scared of snakes anymore. I wasn't scared of anything, right? I had accepted that, I could die, and I was not scared. I was not scared to die. It was weird. It's like, you're going through a lot of pain and suffering, and I kind of know what it feels like, when you're going through the dying process. But I kind of, coming out of it, kind of feel comfort to know that I wasn't scared, and it's like something about the body, the mind, it kind of protected me from just being frightened, being scared that you're about to die or whatever. No, I wasn't scared. It was just, the way I felt was just like, it sucks. It sucks for my son. That's kind of what I had a little bit in the back of my mind. It sucks for my son. He's not going to remember me. He's not going to have a father. I thought my daughter would remember me. She's a little bit older, a little bit more with it. I would figure that she would remember me. So that was like the only thing, but I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared at all. And I guess, it accepted it. I'm like, I didn't want to die, but I'm like, if it happens, it happens, but, we're going to do this fight. And, if I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. But, I held on. But yeah, it was so, I know that, as long as I don't get hit by a bus or something like that later on in life, that if I go through something like that, when it comes near the end, I kind of feel like, because I've been around older people, like, when they were ready to go and all this and that, they're not scared. They're kind of at peace. I was at peace. I wasn't scared. I was ready. If I would have gone to sleep and never, woke up, I would have been fine with that. But so, fast forwarding to me having all these problems, right? In the bed one day, delirious, is sitting there. Like at this point, I'm delirious. I don't sleep much. I don't eat much. I don't know the difference between night and day. I get up, I go to the bathroom, and I go to the bathroom, probably throw up. That's all I ever did. Probably went there throwing up. And it was when I went in the bathroom, my wife was in the house. I didn't know she was home. She was in the house. Yes, she was tired. She came in, got in the bed while I was in the bathroom, got in the bed, whatever, right? I come out the bathroom and I look at the bed and I see the body in the bed and I thought it was me. I was like, oh my God, I'm still in the bed. I was like,
no.
What do I do now? I was like, oh man, this ain't good. It's not good. It's not good. Oh man, oh God. And then she moved and I saw her like, oh, I didn't die in my sleep. Oh, I'm good, man. I'm good, but oh my God, I was freaking out, man. I'm like, because I'm thinking like, how do I get back in? I'm like, it's like, what am I gonna do? And then she moved, and I'm like, oh, all right, I'm still here. We're still in the game, baby. We still in here. But oh man, whew. But there's so many. I mean, there's so many bad things that happen to. Like, fast forward. I don't want to get a lot of stuff is gross or whatever. I don't want to get into it. But I want to say something to Stacey about the joint pain, because I'm further along than you.
Mm-hmm.
I was 5 years ago, further along than you. That will get better. The joint pain, I had it. It's crucial. Yeah. I had it. That will get better with time. The chemo brain or fog, what you call it, I had that. That will get better with time. Now, I did lose my memory. I lost about a year, and from what I can tell, the crazy thing about memory is you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you lost until somebody asks you something.
Right.
You know, and I remember, so we were at a birthday party for Tuck, Vic. Must have been his 40th or something.
Yeah, Lloyd Tucker, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember years before that, I had helped him and his wife. They had moved, me and a couple of guys, we helped them move. And I was like, yeah, remember last year when we helped y'all move to so-and-so? He was like, that was like 3 years ago, man. And I was like, it was? I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
So I was just like, that's kind of weird. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I go back to work for a while, and somebody asked me about a document I wrote for the agency. I work for Homeland Security, and there's it's like basically a how-to doc. I'm an engineer, so there's a how-to doc I did on how to, I don't know, fix the encryption strength on communication between servers. Very technical, geeky stuff, right? So I was like, it must have been this that subject matter expert on that, right? So I come back and people ask me like, hey, how do I do this? I'm like, yeah, you do it like this, but don't you know how to do that? Like, no, everybody in the agency uses your doc. Uses what now? Yeah, you wrote a doc on how to do it. I did what? Like, what you talking about? And then they showed it to me. I'm like, oh my God. Called the doctor, like, oh my God, man, I lost my memory, man. And they was like, oh, hold on, what are you talking about? I was like, I don't know what I don't know. It's just like, dude, people are asking me things and I don't remember at all, not even a little bit. And I was just like, oh my, and they just, had to document me, African-American male, because they don't see many of them.
Right.
They had to document all the things that were happening to me, because, now they have to put this in the list of things that could potentially happen to you. But I'm such a, we're in a small amount that we're probably outliers that don't even make it on the list. If there's millions of people that have cancer and then you see in 1,000 African-American males, that ain't enough.
No.
So it's like, so all these drugs, they were messing with me in all these weird ways. And it's just like, this is a disaster. So now they give me something and they don't know what the expected result is. So now I am a cancer patient and a crash test dummy, because now we're like, well, we don't know, let's just try. Like,
yeah.
Fuck, man, fuck. I was like, all right, I don't have a choice. I'm gonna die, right? I don't have a choice. I gotta take it. Yeah. So let's see what happens to you.
Yeah. So when you Stacey, when you hear Vince talk about it and you discussed your treatment, the pain, the adverse reactions, the side effects, to me, if I was to go through something like that, or even somebody I loved or a friend of mine, a close friend of mine, it's important to have support. But a lot of people say they're going to pray for you or lift you up in prayer or have your back or donate, but then after a week or two or after a month, they disappear. I want to give you a moment, Stacey, to talk about who was there for you and who still is there for you. Who helped? Because again, we can say we have this, whatever, but who were your supports? Like, who helped you get through it? Who was checking on you? Because you are well-known and well-respected, but it's different when people are actively involved. Like, who are some of those people that were there from not every step of the way, but consistently throughout?
Right. I'm going to preface this. We already talked about memory. So if I forget somebody, then please don't get mad at me for saying this. But like I said before, my parents and my in-laws were the main staples of the support that we had on a continual basis while I was going through treatment, and still are. Willing. The main thing is sometimes it's just the kids. Just care for the kids. I can manage the rest, but just make sure the kids are okay. So my parents and in-laws were primary for that. My best friend, Quadralyn, I can't even begin to thank her for all of the support that she gave me literally from day one. When I went into the car and cried, she was one of the first persons that I called to tell, that I had cancer. And she's, sat with me through those 5-6 hour treatments and was there at the house to watch the kids for me and cooked and, did everything. And she still does to this day, make sure that I'm okay. And she is quick to tell me to go sit down. You're doing too much, so that I can, not be putting myself out there where I get tired and can't do later on. So she has definitely been there from step one. And then my sorority sisters, there were some sorority sisters who I wasn't even close with, who, was dropping off food by the house and making sure that I was okay and sending me, cash apping me hundreds of dollars to pay for the things I needed for surgery. And, now I have to wear different types of bras because I can't wear the regular bras that you can get in the store anymore, because once you're cut, I have no feeling up here. So I can't wear the regular bras because if the wire sticks me, I would never know. So it's like things like that I had to now have this financial pocket for, that I didn't. And I would check my phone and there would be money in there for me to, purchase those things. And my fraternity brothers, Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, also, I would have gift baskets. And they were making sure that I was okay and had everything that I would need to get through each phase of treatment. They were, definitely there for me. Your wife, Shanice, and my big sister, Natasha, those two were always making sure. Shanice still texts me and messages me at least once a week to make sure that I'm okay. And I do the same for her, but she always, "You good? Everything all right? We ain't got to, drop nobody off this week, dude. We good?" So she's always making sure and checking in with me. So, there have been a lot of people who I didn't expect to jump in and be there for me. One of the things I did once I got out of surgery, I sent a text, not a text, but a Facebook post and an Instagram post. And I was like, here is a list, a webpage you can go to help me if anything that you feel like you need to give or to help me with. Because I can't necessarily always know what I need that day. And what I need today may change tomorrow. So, saying, I'm going to pray for you. I appreciate all the prayers. But if you want to do something, don't call me and ask me, what do I need? Because honestly, I may just be able to just open my eyes that day. And I may not be able to tell you what I need. So, just do. I have friends. My friend Nikki from college, would come over from morning. She would bring her daughter over and come over and stay literally all day, cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner, clean, wash clothes, care for me and care for the kids. Like, it was just, sometimes they just came. And I was just like, okay, as long as I was healthy enough to receive someone coming in the house, then they would just come in and be there for me. So it was a lot of times when there were a lot of people that I didn't expect. But then I also had those ones that I thought that were going to be very close and were going to be the ones that were going to be there who ghosted me. Couldn't find them, didn't get any messages, didn't get any check-ins, didn't get any, you all right? You still alive? Nowhere to be found. So you have those too. And those hurt because of, you figure, you're supposed to be close to me. You're like a sister to me or a brother to me. And I don't know where you at. And that bothered me some. But then it was like, okay, Stacey, you can't dwell on those who ain't doing. You got a whole bunch of other people over here who are doing way more than you ever expected. And so therefore, you have to appreciate those ones that are already and that are still doing. There's certain people who still check on me to this day, because I always say, yes, my major treatment is done, but I'm technically still in treatment. So there's still some things that I still need, and still have to kind of work through on a daily basis. So yeah, the support system was definitely there, in a way that I wasn't really expecting. And I've said that. I've made posts on social media, listed everyone who's ever helped me and gave them love and said thank you, in ways that I can probably never repay. But, there's sometimes people I think just don't know what to say or know how to help. And sometimes, they feel as though if they may be bothering you if they come and they call, or if they reach out to you, or, sometimes people say special things when they don't know what to say. Like I said, when people be like, oh, you getting a tummy tuck and a breast lift. No, that's not what I'm getting. Or you got the good cancer. What the hell is good cancer?
What?
Things like that. People say some special things when you're going through cancer, and you're just like, no, that's not what this is right now. So, people just sometimes just don't know what to say. So they don't say anything, or they don't know how to help, so they don't help at all. So you just have to be like, okay, that's just how those people process how things work for them, and respect that. But then when time comes back around, when I'm healthy again, you now have to respect that I put you in this place, because when I really needed the support and love from you, you weren't there. And it doesn't have to be, you doing things for me. Just a simple text, you good, is sometimes all that's needed. Or just to have a phone call, just to listen to me complain. Today I'm gonna complain. I'm gonna complain today, because I'm mad at this cancer. I'm mad at this chemo, and I'm tired of being sick. I'm tired of being down. And so today I'm gonna complain. So, sometimes that's all that person needs. And just to be there for that person is important. And sometimes if you don't know what to say, you just ask. Just say, well, what you need? What is it that I can do to make today better for you? What is it? If you don't know, and the person says, I don't even know what it is. Okay, is it okay if I just sit here and just be with you for today? Because a lot of times that's what they need. Sometimes it's just the company. Sometimes it's just support, knowing that somebody else loves me and is there for me to get me through today. Because literally, when I was going through treatment, it was day by day. Some days I was good. I was running, I was moving, I was doing whatever needed to be doing. Some days I barely literally got out of the bed and opened my eyes. So just being there sometimes is what's important. But again, like I said, my support system was way more than what I expected. I appreciate and love everyone who did every and anything, from the smallest thing. I have a whole drawer upstairs of soft, fuzzy socks that I am utilizing because I'm home now every day, that people have given me through treatment. I don't know what it is about fuzzy socks and coloring books that people like to give people with cancer, but not everybody going through cancer with coloring books and fuzzy socks. But I appreciate the fuzzy socks now because I'm home. So yeah, but that's kind of my support.
What about your husband? Because, and Vince, I'll get you in a second about your wife, but like your husband, he is, you guys are out and you're parenting, you do your thing. You guys are a fun couple. And then it's like when someone, and I'm not comparing cancer to prison, but when there's a sudden change like that, people often say when that person goes to prison, their family goes as well. Or when they're going through something, anything, they're going through it. How did that affect your marriage, and how was he supportive, or was it a tough transition for him as well?
I think because we had the major support of our parents, it wasn't as hard as it could have been. But it was still hard because he has never seen me down. So he has never seen me in a weakened state. He's never seen me in a part where I can't function. He's never seen me taking all these meds. He's asking, why are you walking like that? What's wrong? And I'm just like, it's just a side effect from the meds. So for him, I think it was a transition. He's still working. he's still trying to help take care of the kids. He's still, now he's having to cook more and, make sure that the kids are okay, focus on them a lot more than what he had to do. So I think that transition was a lot for him. And I do think it was a heavier load on his shoulders, having to watch me kind of, lack of better words, disintegrate as I was going through chemo, and then also still care for the house. It was hard for him some days. And I know he didn't show it because he was trying to be strong for me, but I'm in tune enough, been with him long enough to know when things ain't all the way right. So I think that overall, now he's much better, of course, because I'm back in the swing of things. But he still kind of watches me with a watchful eye, like, why are you doing that? Why are you moving like that? What's wrong? Kind of deal. He's more of looking after me more than beforehand, than pre-cancer. Because, like I said, I wasn't the one to be down. I was out grooving all the time. I'm always got this. Oh yeah, I got this. I can do this. I can do that. But once that treatment started, that all changed. So I think the help of my parents and his parents helped the load some. But it still was rough on him seeing me in that state, which he wasn't used to. We've been together at that time 12 years total. So, he hadn't seen me like that. So it was rough.
Vince, same question. Your supports, who were they, and how did it affect your family and your wife, and what became her role in regards to treatment?
So I have parallels with her, with Stacey, about the support. Like, there's a lot of people that I didn't expect to support us, right? So coworkers, right, donated a lot. This was before Cash App, so I think with PayPal or something, somebody started up a little fund for me or whatever, because I was at a smaller company at the time, and their insurance wasn't that great, so I was on disability, so they only paid me 60% of my salary. But an executive at the company, he sent food to us, like gourmet food, like Ruth Chris or something, already prepared, like every day. It was like in these big giant tins with instructions on how to heat it up. I mean, sent food, like, so we always had dinner. Like, they sent us dinner. Like I said, people were donating thousands of dollars, to this thing. I mean, coworkers that at my current company and my previous company, people I hadn't talked to in years, it's like, just everywhere I looked, people were asking how could they help? And that was surprising, that was surprising. But it's one of those things that cancer touches so many people, that you have that compassion I was talking about before. Like, they know what you're going through, or they had a loved one that went through it, and they just know how terrible it is, and they just want to help. And so for me, my wife, she's superwoman, right? Because at the time, so my daughter was born with scoliosis, so she has to have operations on her back like every year. So she was having a major back surgery. That's why I was in Baltimore. It's at Johns Hopkins. We were going over figuring out how we were going to do the operation, when they called me and told me that I had cancer. Now I have to get an operation. So we both were having operations at the same time. So, yeah. So, she had to, so my sister doesn't live too far from us. So my sister and brother-in-law, they helped out a lot. Then my parents came up. They, like, at first my sister was taking me to the chemo, and then my parents came up, and so they helped a lot. So her role basically was to take care of my daughter, and then whoever else would I take care of myself, and whoever else could help, would take care of me. So it was like a double whammy for her. And everyone asked, like, how is she handling this? How can she manage to have, two people laid up in the house like this? So she is a superwoman. But yeah, my coworkers, I didn't expect that at all. Family, of course. My coworkers, they dug deep in their pockets. They offered to take me to appointments. I mean, people who I didn't even really know that well, but they were like, a lot of cancer survivors would come out of the woodworks Like when they find out, they're like, oh my God, I went through this too. How can I help you? Because when I had it, I didn't have anybody to help me, and I want to help you. So it was a lot of that kind of stuff. So I was shocked. I was shocked. Facebook, there was a lot of private messages. That was interesting. That was kind of weird. But, because so some people said, oh yeah, we're pulling for you. And then other people thought I was dying, right? Or almost dead. And they start confessing stuff to me, right? I'm like, what? Dead? Yeah, I never got a chance to tell you. I'm like, oh no. Delete. I was like,
hold on.
What?
Confessing, we talking crushes or
yeah, stuff like that, man. Yeah.
Oh man! Now you have guys faking diseases.
Yeah, there was stuff like that, man. Wait, what? But then, then there was two. This is so messed up. In the beginning, there was two young ladies. One, I won't say names, but there was one from Kickingham and one from Hampton High. They reached out. They're like, yeah, you can pull through. I went through a similar thing. Look at me. I'm here. whatever. In 6 months, both of them were dead. And I was
my God.
And I was just and this is why I'm going through it.
I think I know one of them.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. So that's one thing you don't need, right? But there's two crabbers that, that inspired me. One, Jamaica, she had cancer a year before me.
Mm-hmm.
She put her story out on Facebook, and she went through positive, head up. She's very positive about that. And I even messaged her. I was like, people might give you grief, flack for always posting about, yeah, I'm 6 months, I'm a year, or whatever. But I needed that. That helped me be like, look, if she can do it and come through like that, I can do it. So she definitely was inspiration to me. Arnold Bailey, he went through his motorcycle accident around that same time, and the way he was handling that, he was so positive and strong. It's so I would see them. I'm like, dude, if they can go through something like this, I can go through something like this. I never complained ever. I was like, we're gonna be positive about it. So yeah, so there was definitely people that I looked to, people that reached out to me, but there was two women, man, that reached out and they didn't make it, and that was just wow, it's really hitting home, and they tell you don't get on the internet, because I would go on forums, right? That was another one that I had to stop, because you would get on a forum and people like, oh my God, I'm having these symptoms, what do you do? And people going back and forth, then you see a rest in peace. Oh, back and forth.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I'm like, I gotta get out of here, man. This is crazy. Because it'll be somebody had the exact same symptoms that you have. Hey, anybody have this? What did you do? Next thing you know, rest in peace to so and so. I'm like, oh my God, forget this internet stuff. This is crazy. So yeah, so I had to, just get away from, positive. Just I had to get into positive things. I would watch TV, and you never noticed when I'm watching TV how many characters on TV had cancer. I'm like, what is this?
Yes.
Every show I watched, somebody was going through cancer. I was like, I can't watch this, right? So near the end, I was starving. I didn't eat food anymore. I was living off these things called Boost. This is a little drink, because I couldn't eat anymore. I was starving, and all I did all day long was watch Man vs. Food. That's all I watched all day long, because I was watching him eat, and it felt like I was eating. So I watched that on repeat, man. I was like, man, when I'm ever able to eat again, I'm going to go here. I'm going here. I'm going here. So I watched that all day long. No, but for real, but back to, I was literally shocked about coworkers and just the amount of support that people gave me. I was not expecting that at all.
Well, I have one last question and we'll wrap up. But before I ask the question, Vince, I remember you told me in Newport News a few months ago at Ty's father's funeral, you said what chemo and cancer treatment does to you, it practically kills you or puts you near death to bring you back so much to life or keep you alive. When you guys shared your truth and your journey today, which I appreciate more than you know, but with that being said, and Stacey, I'll start with you, everything you guys reflected on today, what has cancer taught you? And how do you apply it to your life today? And if you know you have websites, you mentioned your post, Stacey, but what has cancer taught you? I mean, in the essence of life, death, and the spirit of resiliency, what has it taught you?
It has taught me mainly before COVID-19 to slow down. I started to not be as busy as I was and be okay with not being busy. Because like you said, I was very sociable. I'm out and about. I got sorority life. I got, other organizations that I'm a part of. And I was always on the go. And now I am less likely to be as busy and enjoying where I am in that moment. Taking the time to care more for myself. I'm exercising more, eating right more, than I was beforehand, not taking advantage of the fact that I was healthy doing what I was doing, but even trying to be even more healthy in my actions, as well as realizing that multitasking is a lie. And it's just not real. It's you need to focus on, even if it's like 15 minutes, you're just focused on one thing at a time. Just focus on that one thing so you can give it your all, because when you're multitasking, something always gets the less of what you're really trying to give it. And so, I used to be the master of multitasking, at least what I thought. And now it's just kind of like, nope, I'm taking my time, I'm focusing, I'm, having to cut out a lot of things. Saying no is a power that I didn't know I had. And being okay with saying no, and from lack of better words, not caring if someone's unhappy with my no. Because my no is taking care of me and my family. And so therefore I have to say no to that right now and be okay. You got to be okay with it. And if you're not, you still going to have to be okay with it, because I'm still going to say no to that. And just being able to enjoy life a little bit more than what I was doing before. Like I said, I was just a busybody. Now, not so much. And okay with the days where I want to lay on the couch all day and eat chocolate and watch whatever series I want to watch, and be okay with just doing that as well.
No doubt.
You have a list. Everyone has a list of all the things that they could be doing. Grass got to be cut, or this got to be done, or I need to do this for work. And no, sometimes you don't have to. You can just sit and be in your space and just focus on your breathing, and just be for a moment. So that's probably like the main things that I've taken away going through cancer, and it's being okay with just being. So.
Yeah, that's very true. And I know I've learned that over the last years, because I like you always going, but seeing some things and hearing you speak reminds me, again, you have to slow yourself down and appreciate life. Vince, what has cancer taught you?
Yeah, I mean, that's same thing. Like the whole, for us, we're in the DC area. The whole northeast area region, right, of the country have this mentality: money, 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 work, work, work. It's not like down south. People might get off 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and that's it. We work till 7, 8, whatever, trying to get more money, this and this. And definitely for me, the values of my life, what's important to me, it time, because, just to be honest, you don't feel like you have as much time like you did before, right? Before I never thought about it. My first appointment, when I went to my oncologist, they weighed me, 39 years old. They're like, "Have you done your will yet?" I'm like, "No, I hadn't planned on dying." And so no, I never did my will, so I'm just like, wow, I don't, it's like one of the things, like, you'll get to it, right? Hey, you don't necessarily have all the time in the world like you think you do. So for me to just work around the clock and miss being around my family and my kids and stuff like that, it's, to me, time is more important than anything. I passed up like jobs where for a lot of money, because like a lot of people are just like money, money, money. Even my dad, he gets on me for like I'll pass up certain jobs. Like recently, there's a group in Quantico, they called me up. They wanted me to be a lead architect on this job, right? And I read the And I read the job description, and dude was like, dude, we'll pay you 240K, or if that's not enough, basically whatever you want, you know, to come do this job. I read the description, absolutely not. No way, I'm not doing that, because that's not what I wanted. I didn't want my life to work that way. You know, I wanted to be around my kids. That's more valuable to me. So, you know, I'm fine. I have enough, you know. I'm fine with that. People like, you know, I have other friends like, oh man, come get this money, come over here, come be sales engineer over here with me. We make all this, you know, and people, money. But it you know, you sacrifice time for a lot of that kind of stuff, right? And I was like, no, I might not have the years that everybody else has, you know, we never know. So I, you know, value seeing my friends and family, because I'll go years without seeing friends because on a work project, we're working on the weekends, we're working all the time, work. And I don't see anybody, and I'm miserable. I don't even like the job. I'm just there for the money. I don't even particularly like what I'm doing. I'm just there for the money. So I'm like, so if I did that, I'm miserable, and then I just died, that's a terrible ending to my story. Yeah. I was working, I was miserable, and died. Like, what? I was like, no, hell no. That, it doesn't have to end like that. No. So, you know, I do things I want to do and try to make sure that I'm happy, you know, versus trying to just do, you know, chase money or chase other things like that. You're like, I want to do things that make me happy. So that's kind of what, you know, cancer helped me put that in perspective. What's more important? Like friends and family are more important to me than money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, both of you have shed so much light on your journey. I'm very thankful for this opportunity to interview you both. I think when people see this, they're going to really appreciate it, and you're going to inspire more people. Vince, you may get more people in your DMs.
Nah. That was hilarious, though. That was, man, I wish I could. Nah, I ain't gonna.
Don't.
I ain't gonna say no.
No, but on a serious note, I appreciate you both sharing your truth, your journey. I really feel like at the end of the day, you've inspired me and other people to continue to check on their health, stay healthy, stay focused, and most importantly, appreciate their life and the things that matter most. So thank you guys both for a great show. This is going to be well. And that's pretty much it, man. Take care. Thank you so much.
All right, man.
Take care.
All right.